Israel and Iran have reached a ceasefire, and Russia and Ukraine are also in negotiations. Modi has betrayed allies twice and now faces retribution from these former partners. Many people are puzzled as to why India keeps making mistakes. Modi has been in power for only 11 years. Yet under his leadership, India has gone from a nation globally recognized as a potential superpower to replace China to one that is friendless, unprecedentedly isolated, and mocked or even despised worldwide. In this video, we set aside emotional outbursts and discuss why India has reached this point. First, Modi's rise to power resulted from the weak public relations capabilities of the Congress Party. Modi did not create any economic miracles in Gujarat. He was merely adept at manipulating numbers, producing impressive reports, and clumsily imitating Mussolini's speech style. With the support of the low-level fascist organization RSS, he incited hatred against Muslims through Hindu radicalism to win votes. Yes, he successfully mimicked Mussolini and Hitler, but his methods were so crude that they would be considered an outright joke in other countries. However, in India, a deeply backward and ignorant closed society, Modi became the savior in the hearts of many grassroots people. The Congress Party had its share of corruption scandals, but its Prime Minister, Singh, laid the foundation for India's market reforms, enabling Modi's reckless actions and boasts of becoming a superpower. Moreover, the Congress Party's corruption pales in comparison to that of Modi and the BJP. Modi has almost openly funneled benefits to oligarchs like Adani and Ambani, even at the expense of national interests, to support his financial backers. However, Modi and the BJP are indeed skilled at propaganda. In a modern, civilized country, they would be ruthlessly mocked by mainstream society. But in India, they have overwhelmed the Congress Party and other political opponents with a dimensionality reduction strike. If you compare 1930s Germany and Italy with today's India, you will find that, despite the economic crises those fascist countries faced, their social governance, living standards, and education levels far surpass those of India today. Thus, Modi and the BJP can dominate India by copying century-old fascist tactics. So why does Modi repeatedly make mistakes, leading India into a predicament? Essentially, Modi is a low-grade version of Mussolini, not Hitler. India's backward national strength cannot support Modi's ambitions, just as Italy could not sustain Mussolini's dream of Roman revival. Mussolini was also outwardly strong but inwardly weak, needing a big brother to rely on, namely Hitler. Once a fan of Mussolini, Hitler became his psychological crutch due to Germany's formidable power. Italy's military operations in North Africa were utterly humiliating, barely achieving a Pyrrhic victory against Ethiopia. Against British forces, they collapsed at the first touch. Before invading the Balkans, Mussolini boasted it would be as easy as an armed parade. But in reality, small Balkan nations routed his forces. Hitler had to clean up these messes. In his final days, Mussolini was engulfed in endless darkness and fear, relying on German troops to protect himself and his family. Ultimately, he died in utter humiliation, and his protector, Hitler, soon took his own life. Modi is much the same today, grossly overestimating India's national strength, especially its military capabilities. India was thoroughly defeated in border provocations against China, suppressed Chinese companies, and banned Chinese apps, leading to a technological blockade by China. In the recent China-US tech war, China's rare earth restrictions impacted India first, before even affecting the US. In an air battle with Pakistan, India deployed twice as many aircraft but was defeated 6-0 without even sighting Pakistani planes. Pakistan's military claimed they could have shot down 15 aircraft but restrained themselves to avoid escalating the conflict. Modi shares similarities with India's founding Prime Minister, Nehru, as both believed their nation was powerful when, in reality, it was fragile. When border wars failed, Nehru frantically sought help from the US and the Soviet Union, and the Indian government prepared to evacuate New Delhi. At the moment his courage was most needed, he chose to kneel for aid. From then on, India lost its claim to leadership in the global south, doomed to never become a global power. Modi is no different. He dares not bear any pressure. When Russia became mired in the Ukraine war, Modi's primary concern was that the West was too powerful and Russia would surely collapse. He and India could not afford to go down with it. So he visited Ukraine to show friendship with Zelensky while using rupees to buy Russian oil and gas, reselling them at high prices for euros and dollars. Russia, holding worthless rupees, could not purchase desired strategic resources. Modi's betrayal of Russia at a critical moment stemmed from his inner fear. He dared not support Russia and share its burdens. Though Russia survived its crisis and India could have reaped rewards, Modi lacked the courage to invest and chose to betray Russia. From that moment, he resolved to make the US his new master, provoking China at the border to ease his master's troubles. As a nation of great strength, China fears neither Europe nor the US. Within the bounds of international morality, China actively trades with Russia to address its livelihood issues. However, China does not fully antagonize the West or the US for Russia's sake. In the Russia-Ukraine war, China maintains its consistent stance, opposing comprehensive sanctions on Russia but not recognizing Russia's occupation of Ukrainian territory. China fears neither offending the US nor Russia, making diplomatic decisions based on its national strategy. In contrast, Modi's foreign policy prioritizes keeping himself in a psychological comfort zone, avoiding significant pressure. To this end, he is willing to sacrifice India's national interests. After all, if he falls, India's success means nothing to him. A similar situation occurred during the brief Iran-Israel war. A few days ago, Israel held absolute air superiority, severely battering Iran. Modi and his clownish colleagues judged that Iran's regime would soon collapse. So, ignoring India's strategic partnership with Iran and the fact that Iran leased ports to India, he refused to condemn Israel or even offer verbal support to Iran. When China condemned Israel and sent supplies to Iran, Indian media mocked China's aid as futile in reversing the war's outcome. Such shamelessness shocked the world. I made a video specifically addressing this, telling Indians, "You clowns had better pray for a swift Israeli victory to crush Iran completely. Or if Iran avoids regime change, you will face the endless wrath of the Persians." In the end, Iran fought back with missiles against Israel. Though it did not reverse the war, the US was unwilling to intervene deeply, and Iran ultimately survived. Modi and India fell into endless embarrassment once again. India's efforts to curry favor with Israel are not primarily due to shared animosity toward Muslims, but because Israel is the US's close ally, and the US is the new master Modi seeks to please. Trump not only withholds support from Modi, but also imposes tariffs on India, repeatedly humiliating it. There is none of the generosity or care that Hitler showed Mussolini. Yet India's strength is indeed limited, far weaker than Italy during World War II. For Modi, as long as the US and its allies accept him and allow India to be a legitimate guard dog, he is willing to abandon India's national interests. Though betraying Russia and Iran will cost India dearly in the long run, Modi does not care. He knows he is just a useless stray dog that cannot survive without a master. No matter how rude Trump is, Modi seeks his approval to become a certified guard dog. Beyond cowardice, another key reason for Modi's diplomatic failures is his fake academic credentials, which cannot compensate for his cognitive deficiencies. In other words, he is quite foolish. This is not sarcasm. His understanding of the world is extremely limited. Since starting this channel, I have predicted the Indian government's choices multiple times and warned they would be proven wrong. My recent predictions about the India-Pakistan air battle and Modi's misjudgment of the Iran situation were quickly validated. India's wrong choices largely stem from Modi's foolishness. He and his team are less capable of analysis than this amateur YouTuber. Modi and his generals persist in targeting Pakistan because he lacks the basic ability to assess a nation's industrial and technological strength. France is merely a second-tier nation with few world-leading industrial sectors. Its economic output, industrial production, technological level, and comprehensive national strength lag behind Germany and Japan, and it is far inferior to China and the US, not even in the same league. Modi's belief that Rafale fighters could secure air superiority is utterly foolish. If he had read a few military enthusiast posts and understood what gallium nitride radar or data links are, he would not be so arrogant. He lacks basic knowledge of modern warfare, and the entire Indian military lacks fundamental scientific literacy. It is entirely normal for such a nation to be humiliated in war. Under Modi's 11-year leadership, India has not become a world factory. On the contrary, it missed the last train of industrialization, falling far behind Southeast Asia, Mexico, and other emerging manufacturing hubs. This is inseparable from Modi's foolishness. He knows nothing about high-tech concepts like chips, AI, or new energy. He is just a tea vendor who obtained fake credentials through the RSS, mastered the rhetoric of pyramid schemes, and excels at fraud. Honestly, letting him plan India's development is worse than rolling dice. If India's goal is to be a prominent regional power in South Asia, Modi's intellectual capacity is barely sufficient. However, if India aims to compete comprehensively with China, forget about raising the national education level. Modi's leadership must at least possess the scientific literacy of a Chinese high school student instead of playing mystical games in temples all day. Boasting can never make a nation truly strong, just as Viagra cannot make a man truly strong.